Testing. There we go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the December 1st meeting of the Rotary Club of Sebastopol Sunrise. Your president is in Hawaii today, and it's my pleasure to host the meeting today. So here we go. First of all, how about a round of applause for Esmeralda and the Sunshine Cafe? Thank you for this wonderful breakfast. And thank you, Bonnie, for being the setup and takedown people. We appreciate it and couldn't do it without you. And Charlie and Michael for being our technical part of the meeting. I am grateful. And thanks to Jim Gilliam, who greeted today. And with that, we'll have Darlene lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, that's an old picture. Everybody please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
With liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Darlene. And Judy Rice, you have our thought for the day?
Good Lord, where do you find these things? I look like a zombie.
That was at my house, a board meeting we had.
Oh my Lord. All right, I have two of them. Both I do not have an author, so let's call them anonymous. Let me just read them to you. The first one, no matter how long you've traveled in the wrong direction, you can always turn around. And the second one, which I really like, no matter how talented, rich, or intelligent you are, how you treat animals tells me all I need to know about you.
Oh, very good, thank you. Showtime. Joe. Take it away.
Where do you find these pictures?
I know, right?
Happy December 1st, acting president like that.
Thank you.
Nice to have you up there. It's like old times again.
It is, about a decade ago.
Is it that long?
Well, not quite.
It only seems like yesterday.
It's more than a decade.
Well, when you were president, what was your favorite news?
Wow, what kind of morning is it? It's a beautiful morning, don't you think?
It's a very nice, very beautiful morning, but not the Young Rascals.
No.
No.
Oklahoma, all the way.
All right. There's a
Bright golden haze
on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow.
There's
corn is as high as an elephant's high, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning! Oh, what a beautiful day! I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way.
Thank you. And it is going to be a beautiful day. A little birdie told me it's going to be 75 today, so don't put away those summer clothes yet. Well, it's time to welcome our guests and visitors. We have roving microphones today, Bob Keyser and Ron McCauley. So if you have a guest at your table, please raise your hand and we'll get you introduced.
Here we go. So we have several guests from Laguna this morning. We have Noel and Brian and Miles. Miles is our student of the month. Noel and Brian are his parents. And Ollie and Kimberly, also from Laguna. So welcome, you guys.
And Diana has microphone. Here we go. His name is Tom Ward. Oh, excuse me.
Hi, I know many of you, and thought I would, since I had to get up at 6:30 this morning anyway, to make coffee for my gardener. Here I am.
Thanks, Tom. We're glad you're here. And I believe Linda is a visitor too?
Well,
Yes,
I'm not so new.
but we like that you come and show up. So round of applause, poster child for prospective members. Thank you. Have we covered everybody? Any visitors in Zoom? Okay. Well, the caption contest is back this week. Thanks to our technical people for being starring roles in it. And I'll take it away, starting with my caption. This is dedicated to Terry Kelly. I'm walking on sunshine, yeah, yeah. All 5 verses. So that's mine. And when your caption comes up, if you would please read it.
Where is Ken Brandt when we need him?
Very good. Michael McLaughlin.
Looks like Julie Rice cut over hair.
Jim Goodenough.
The 3 Musketeers.
And our president sent this one. I'll read it. Oh, crap. Michael says, you said crap. Charlie says, you are fined. David says, okay, I'll pay for saying crap. You can't say beep around here. And then Joe.
As you can see from the graph, your tech-savvy poll numbers are just below those of Ken Brandt.
And the winner is Joe Gastowitz.
Oh!
Come on up and get your prize.
A prize?
A broken computer.
Pick a card, any card.
All right.
Actually, take 2, because Marty gets an honorable mention,
Should I give him one?
because he said Ken Brandt too. All right, thanks everyone who played in the caption contest. And now it's time for Michael Cook to tell us a little bit about telemedicine.
Okay, good morning. Our club is participating in a global grant project that's taking place in the Philippines. They've done a pilot project.
My first name is Henry.
March.
My last name is Alker, spelled Alker.
I don't know what that's
It's
about.
Henry. Hi, Henry.
Can you read it all? Okay. So out in the Philippines, they did a pilot project starting in March, and they liked the results. So now they're expanding from 1 to 20 locations. So they went out and raised a pile of money, and we are one of the participants in that grant by virtue of a donation from Global Offsite Care, because people in this club and others had raised a little money last May. So I have a check to present to the club that will send on to the Rotary Foundation. They'll match what the district kicks in as a result of our contribution, and that will help reach the total goal of $60,000 to do this expansion.
Fantastic. Well done. Awesome. I'll be sure this gets to the right place. Thank you for all your efforts and making us look good in the world. And now it gives me great pleasure for the Student of the Month presentation. Wayne, take it away. There should be a microphone. Here's Bob.
Miles. You're up, buddy, come on. So we've got up here some slides that I understand these are some of your creations, is that right? Yeah, I thought it would be fun to show off some of the things that the students are doing. And Miles is interested in graphics arts. And so he's taking a couple of classes, I think, in Photoshop, as well as some other courses at Laguna. And he's been a great student there. And we're real happy to have you here for breakfast and give you some we got some money for you, but I forgot to get it, but I'll go get it. And we're gonna have a nice plaque for you. So Miles, you're a senior, and tell us a little bit about what your plans are. I understand you've saved a bunch of money, you work at Bandy's, right? And you're gonna make a trip and you're gonna try to be a freelance artist. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
After high school, I plan on doing freelance graphic design and buying a conversion bus and just traveling the country and doing that, and doing my own thing.
Well, we got a little gas money for you, 50 bucks there. That'll get you maybe to, I don't know, San Francisco, something like that. You won't be able to eat, but anyhow. So we're real pleased that you're here. We're pleased that you have done a good job at Laguna. You go to classes, you're responsible, you're respectful, and that's a wonderful thing. And we really all appreciate it because you're going to be the next generation that's going to take over this place. And so we're real happy to have you here. Thank you for doing a great job. So let's give them a big hand. We will have a platform that he can proudly display on his wall or in his van or wherever it happens to be, but we don't have that yet, so anyhow.
Thank you, Wayne. Congratulations. Well, we have a couple of birthdays this week. Who do you think this handsome buckaroo is? There's a prize if you guess right. Jim who? Ron? Gilliam. Boy, you're on a roll. Did you? Jim, tell us about this picture and your birthday.
It's been too long ago, too much liver and other things. Fun time. Yeah, same how.
Those days when you couldn't do anything wrong, you just went out and had a good time.
Awesome.
Yes.
Was this in Sebastopol or where did you?
No, I was raised in Campbell, California,
Oh.
when it was all orchards like it was up here.
Yeah. And was this your pony?
No, it wasn't.
Oh,
No.
well, it sure suits you.
Thank you.
And what are your birthday plans?
Well, I'm going to go, Friday I'm going over to Scott's house.
Yeah.
In a couple of weeks, I'm going over to Marty's house.
Very good. Well,
And then for Christmas, we're actually going to the Palace Hotel in San Francisco for 3 days.
nice. So it's
Yeah.
a progressive party. Birthday
Yes.
month is here.
Yes.
Well, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But wait, there's more. Who's this birthday girl? Okay, Kathy. Boy, this is the winning table over here. Happy birthday, Marnie. What a beautiful family. Would you like to tell us about these photographs and your birthday?
So I was born in Sri Lanka, and these are photos. I'm 3 on the right and 6 in the middle photo. That's my mom and my dad in the middle photo. He was a Methodist missionary in Sri Lanka, and mom is native and a prima ballet dancer. And then the one on the right is again my mom, and then the second from the right is my cousin Viola. So anyway, I couldn't find a baby photo, so that was close I got. So I was glad that we had another non-baby photo.
Yes, it was perfect. I'm delighted. And do you have any special plans for your birthday?
It's a surprise as far as I know, other than I will do a Zoom call with my granddaughter Ione in New York.
Very good. Well, happy birthday to you. PJ. Maybe he's still traveling. He's not on the Zoom, is he? Okay, well, PJ is in Las Barrias. Did I say that right? But we'll probably hear more about that when he returns. And it's the Joe Gazowitz show. Joe, it looks like you got to be with all your grandkids. Speaking of grandkids, you want to tell us about this visit?
Well, up there you can see our grandkids almost doubled. And we have twins now. That is Claire on the left and Scott on the far right. No relation to this Scott. I don't think he has anything to do with it. The middle kid is Aiden. He's 8. The child right behind them is the big brother of the twins. That's Patrick, and he's 4.5 going on 7. And Alyssa, our big girl, she's 9 now. So time flies when you're having fun. We took that down at Brownie State Park. Those of you who've been at the property know where that is. So we had a great time. Thanksgiving was good to see everybody. And the house and us took a deep sigh when everybody left.
Yeah. Well,
It was
thank
great.
you, Joe. And I hope everyone had a beautiful Thanksgiving and got to share it with family. We sure, again, you can't beat the weather. We had lovely weather. So I'm going to make a few announcements, and then I'm going to open it up to y'all for announcements as well. I'm getting my booster on Friday, and I just want, Mark Olson is a fabulous Rotarian. He is very generous to our club and Rotary. And I'm taking my insurance card because I'm not Kaiser, and we need to do business with our buddy. And so if you know somebody who needs their booster, make an appointment, and Forestville Pharmacy has the shots. So that's my PSA. And then Michael and Kathy, any update on our holiday food giveaway? Okay.
It's gonna be on Thursday, the 23rd. It'll begin about 9 a.m. at the Sebastopol Center for the Arts. And we will build the 300 boxes from 9 until noon roughly. And then we'll disperse them.
On the same day?
On the same day. And starting about 1 o'clock, people will drive through, and it'll all be socially distanced. And hopefully we're gonna have toys like we've had last year. We are in the process of fundraising for this. It costs about $4,000 to put it on. So if you're so inclined, reach into your wallet and pull out something. The sign-up sheet will be coming, we'll be getting that up on the web in the next couple of days, hopefully. And that's it.
Great. Thank you for organizing that, and everybody look for the sign-up opportunity.
Excuse me, Linda, the Interact Club wants to get involved with that too.
Oh, good. Perfect. And Marty has an announcement?
Thank you. I just want to remind everybody, and it is very topical because the Press Democrat has an article today on the front page. Eric Kohenshofer, who was appointed by Linda Hopkins, our supervisor on the redistricting committee, is going to be our program next week. And he thought, when Charlie and I talked to him, that this would be settled. Obviously, it's not settled. The latest thing has created still more angst for Runner Park. So Eric is going to be here to discuss the process. This happens every 10 years based upon voting records of the population. And so we look forward to having a good program with Eric next week. Eric Kohenshofer, who was a former supervisor and a prominent Sonoma County attorney.
Is he the one I see driving in a little blue BMW through Freestone?
Maybe.
I don't know, I think it's him, but we'll see. Thank you for that, and stay tuned, everybody. It sounds like this is a work in progress. Scott Hensey, what's going on this week?
Yes, thank you, President Linda. I just wanted to personally invite everybody over to my house on Friday, especially new guys. Bring a side dish and get ready to hang out and be cool.
Yeah, No early arrivers, 5:30 or
Yeah,
later.
5:30. Jane was very specific about that.
And vaccinations required. Vaccinations required, right?
Right.
All right. Well, we look forward to it. This annual event is something we've done for a long time. Former member who sadly passed away, Frank Bardella, used to host this beautiful event, and Scott and Jane have taken over the reins.
I talked to Barbara, she said she's good.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. Well, we look forward to it, and thanks for opening up your house to us once again. And now I'd like to open it up for other announcements. Wayne has one.
On January 3rd, we're going to have a little work party at the wood shop over at Laguna High School, which is now in El Molino. So if anyone's interested, let me know. We're going to be doing, some cleanup, some moving tools around. We're going to mount some vices on workbenches, and maybe Gus might do a little electrical work. So if you're interested, please let me know, and we'll figure it out. We're only going to spend probably about half a day, so it's not going to be a whole day deal. So, thank you.
That's Monday.
Anna has an announcement. Bob's got it.
Hi. I just wanted to let Rotary know that we just housed 2 homeless individuals here at our Park Village here in Sebastopol. And West County Community Services is, we're giving tours on once a month on a Wednesday of Park Village, so people can see the housing project. And so I'm inviting anyone who's interested. If you're interested, let me know that you'd like to come to a tour with the housing project, and we can make it happen. So just letting the Rotary Club know.
Thanks, Anna. You know, y'all should know that Anna is a new member and is bringing a lot of fabulous ideas for our club. We're going to get together and get a TikTok present going for our club. And apparently there's some dance where you need to do. So I want you to get your Rotarians at Work t-shirts together. We're gonna plan something and it's gonna be fabulous. So thank you for your enthusiasm and contribution and for what you do for our community. Let's have a round of applause. So we've got some time. Any other announcements? Okay, well with that, Charlie, would you introduce our speaker? And I will stop sharing my screen so she can share hers.
So Carrie, are you ready to go here a little early?
I sure am. Can you hear me?
All right. Yes, I can. Thank you. Carrie Sponstrom is the planning director for the city of Sebastopol. She's been doing that since 2018, and she is an architect as well as a planner, and she's been in the planning sector for the last 10 years. She was previously a consultant at a firm that worked on public architecture and planning projects, and she's lived in the Sebastopol area since 2007. You will often see her walking her dog Pigby on the local trails. So great. Carrie, thanks very much for coming this morning, and take it away.
Thank you, Charlie. A pleasure to be here, appropriately socially distanced, but great to see you all. So just a little bit about the planning department in Sebastopol. We do review sort of the traditional planning jobs like reviewing development projects and doing long-range planning for the city, the general plan, and some of the other policy updates. But in Sebastopol, we actually get to do some fun stuff. In addition to that, we are responsible for park planning and the public art committee. And the city recently formed a climate action committee to look at climate change and what the city can do about that. And so those are some additional things that I thought I'd talk about some of those, but then open up for questions on anything on going around town that I might be able to answer for you. So I thought I'd start out with park projects. And I know the Rotary has been quite involved with some of those. This is sort of the list of major projects for this fiscal year, which is July to end of June. So we're about halfway through that. We do have some ongoing through public works, landscape maintenance, like taking care of city and park trees. But we have a couple of more interesting projects going on. One is the AmeriCorps Trail extension. And so that's an extension from the trail that starts just south of the community center. We will be extending that all the way down and connecting into Highway 116, or sorry, Highway 12, at just west of the Caltrans Bridge. We actually got a matching grant for that. That actually, I know some of you have met Kenyon Webster, that my predecessor, he had applied for that, and we are just getting ready to construct that next spring. So that will be, a good way of connecting trails and being able to get from the park all the way down to Tamagotchi Park via trail networks. We have improvements at Burbank Farm on the west side of town on Bodega Avenue, just west of the Burbank Orchard senior housing. And so that's adding a public restroom. That's at the very, very early stages. And that'll be going forward in the coming years. At Ives Park, we are planning to replace the entire pathway from the southwest corner of Willow and Jewel all the way up through High Street by the Art Center. And we actually have an Ives Park master plan. We've been working on several elements for that this year in the last couple of years. And I know we've also gotten some donations from folks, including Rotary, to upgrade around the playground area there. We're also looking at naturalizing the Calder Creek stream bed throughout the park. So if you frequent Ives, it's basically a concrete or saccrete channel, man-made channel. We are looking at, and we have an upcoming planning commission meeting, looking at actually making that back into a natural stream bed that goes through the park. And then a couple of completed projects that you probably know about. I know most of you know about the Libby Park Super Playground, and I just want to extend another thanks to both Rotary clubs, but specifically to Sunrise, for all your assistance with that. That was actually one of the really fun projects to do. We got to do a survey of kids of what they wanted to do, what they wanted the playground to include. We got over 500 responses from that. That was pre-COVID, so we had paper surveys in the library and whatnot. But that was actually probably the biggest survey response we've had in the city of Sebastopol to survey. And I've been out there many times since it's opened, and there's always kids enjoying that playground. So thank you again so much for all your hard work on that project. Adjacent to Libby Park, we used the Sonoma County Parks for All tax measure that was passed a couple of years ago to resurface those tennis courts. Those are Brookhaven's courts, but they are open to the public, and they are the only public tennis courts in town. And then lastly, we do have some trail connections that we're working on, not just from this particular one is from Tamagotchi Park through and connecting in with the new townhome development, and then to the bicycle trails on the east side of town. But we're also looking at longer range planning in terms of making sure we continue to connect the various smaller segments we have throughout town, so that you can enjoy multi-purpose trails, bicycling and walking throughout town. We also have our public art committee has been busy at work in the last few years. They have done 2 calls for artists. The city does have a art fund for public art, and that is a requirement that larger commercial projects either build art or pay an in lieu fee, and then the city will commission art to be done on city property. And so we do have two sculptures under construction and getting ready to be installed. The one on the left is, you might recognize that kind of pink wall as the wall of the Sebastopol Library. This is a call that was done a couple of years ago, and it's almost ready for completion. And it's a sculpture called Gray Matters. Michael McGinnis is a professor at Sonoma State University in sculpture, and he won the competition for that. And the middle picture is the work under construction as of yesterday. So we're getting very excited about that going up quite soon. The other sculpture that is commissioned and working on the logistics and construction is Ned Kahn's piece. It's called the Sebastopol Spire. And this is actually going to go very close to that AmeriCorps trail that's going in.
Your slides are not advancing.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. Can you see the next project? List of slides?
You can see the opening slide right now.
Got it. All right. Hold on. Let me try something else. That worked. All right. So this is the fun pictures. Excellent. Thank you. So yeah, so you can see the sort of the massive stainless steel arches. That's the library piece that will be going up. And then the Ned Kahn sculpture on the is the spire in the middle of the field, and that's just north of the Highway 12 bridge on the west side of Laguna. And that's actually, as I said, where the AmeriCorps Trail will be connecting right past this. So there's opportunities to actually engage the art, both as a commuter, if you're a commuter, and also walking up to the sculpture. And then lastly, we, at Ives Park, the Public Art Committee has been working on a sculpture garden, and there's several concrete bases between the art center and the trail into the park at High Street. They have selected 6 sculptures through a competition for that, and that will be installed later this month or early in January. So those are kind of the fun park and art projects that we have going on in the city. We do also have several long-range planning projects. They're sort of listed here. The first is our local hazard mitigation plan, and that's a plan that allows us to apply for both look at how to mitigate, fires, floods, earthquakes, climate change, pandemics, any sort of hazard to the community. So it's actually kind of interesting. When we started off the project, I wanted to make sure climate change and power outages were included in this. And then the pandemic hit. And so that, was not something I anticipated being such a large part of our lives and such a big change, but it certainly is more integral into the plan and has us looking forward in terms of what some of the other mitigations we might do to help keep the community safe. And I'm happy to share this. I have shared the show with Charlie, so if he's able to share the links with you, they're all pretty findable on the city's website. In September, we began our every 8-year housing element update, and that's actually planning for housing within the city of Sebastopol. If you read the news, you might be hearing about housing allocation numbers from the state of California. And as a city, we're required to take those numbers, which for Sebastopol is a little over 200 units for over an 8-year period. And plan for and make sure we do have land available for that development. We also look at things like making sure there are opportunities for all level of incomes to live in town, in terms of market rate housing, moderate, and also low income housing. This is kind of a technical project, but we are implementing a online permitting and parcel system. So if any of you have ever wondered, does my neighbor have a building permit? In a couple of years' time, you'll actually be able to go online and see or submit your own building permit or planning application or find out zoning information about your house. We're also working on some updates to our design standards, and our climate action committee is working on next steps of what actions the city should be taking to address climate change through what we're calling a climate action framework. But it's really focused on how the city should be making decisions and regarding climate change and being progressive on that, as well as looking at projects that we might do, such as microgrids within city structures or across boundaries as a community. And finally, we do have a few major projects going on in town. I'm happy to give updates. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but most of you know about the hotel that's planned across from the plaza. That obviously they were struck a bit by the pandemic and impacts on the hospitality industry. But I have ongoing conversations with them, and they are definitely still moving forward and wanting to construct that. They've continued to, even though they are relooking at their financing for the project, given the timeframes from when they thought they would be able to start it, and now they've gone through and gotten the building permit and everything to construct, ready to go. If you've noticed construction on your way out of town on Highway 12, south of just south on side of Morris Street, that is an 18-unit residential townhome project that is nearing completion, and that will be 16 market rate townhomes and 2 moderate income level deed restricted units. And so that will be a great addition to the city's housing stock pretty soon here. We have a few projects under planning. There's a 10-unit mini townhome, 500 to 600 square foot townhome on Bodega Avenue, just west of Golden Ridge. There is a larger project called the Woodmark Apartments that is under planning by Robinson and Nelson in Bodega, just north of Burbank Gardens. And that's an 84 unit, and that's 100% affordable income. Sort of 100% deed restricted for low income housing. The old Round Table building has been purchased by a local construction and contractor firm. Greg Beal, he also has Thrive Construction, if you've seen them around town, and they're planning a pretty major upgrade and remodel of that building. And that has been approved, and they are doing a few things before they submit for building permits. And then we do have a couple other things that are just starting planning. There's actually just south of the Mason lot where most of you are today, and across from Safeway, there's that vacant lot. And that has actually been donated to Habitat for Humanity, and they are looking at doing a few townhomes there. They've had both a preliminary review with the Planning Commission and the Design Review Board. And so they are working on a formal submittal for that, and that will certainly, I know our fire chief will be happy to see that. It's a constant weed abatement, and I'm sure you've all noticed the weeds growing in that field. But looking at that as a small housing development. Finally, I did read the guide that we're not supposed to do solicitations, but I do have one thing. The city does have a number of boards and commissions, the Planning Commission, Design Review Board, etc. And if you are interested in those, the city is currently accepting applications for positions on those. I know we have 2 vacancies on our Planning Commission as well, and we do have some on the other boards as well. If you're interested, you can either let me know and I can get you an application, or you can go to the city's website under the news section. There is a quick link to the application for that. And that is all I have. I would love to entertain questions, or if you have anything you'd like to know more about.
I have a question. My wife and I love to walk around town. We live off Robinson Road. And there have been a lot of improvements for cyclists in Sebastopol, but I was happy to hear about these trail connections. But our sidewalk system is sketchy in the extreme. And probably over 90% of our citizens do walk. Maybe 15, 20% ride bikes. So I'm wondering where the attention is towards knitting together our sidewalk system.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. There are a couple of ways that we are planning for that. The city does have an adopted bicycle and pedestrian master plan, and some of that identifies sidewalk gaps, as we call them. When there's a sidewalk, it stops and then it picks up again. The city actually has gotten a grant from Caltrans and ABAG to reconstruct Bodega Avenue, but also to close the sidewalk gaps along Bodega Avenue. So there's 2 major ones there. One is west of Golden Ridge, and there's another one actually around where you live. So that will actually allow the city to construct those and create continuous sidewalks. We have other sidewalk gaps that are included in our pedestrian bicycle master plan that is somewhat old. We are looking at updating that. Sonoma County has applied for a grant, and if they get a grant from Caltrans, we'll be able to, both the county-wide master plan will be updated, but also the cities will get updated in that as well. Other than that, yesterday we had a kickoff meeting for a local road safety plan. And that does include looking at where accidents, pedestrian and bicycle accidents have happened, starting to prioritize and looking at improvements of those. And now whether that's not necessarily a sidewalk gap, but that does go to the what are called the HAWK, the beacons crosswalks, where you can push the button and it flashes, and installing additional crosswalks where needed in town. But I would say if you have any areas in particular, because that project is just getting off the ground, I know there will be some surveys, but in the meantime, if you want to email me, I'm happy to pass on to that team any particular areas of concern that you might have in terms of missing sidewalks or things that are priorities for the community.
Thank you.
Question. Does a person need to actually live within the city limits of Sebastopol to serve on any of the commissions?
It depends on the border commission, but our planning commission, we do have 1 seat available to someone who is, I will say it's taken right now, it is filled, but it will come up in a couple of years. We do allocate 1 seat for someone outside, but still in the zip code. I don't believe the Public Art Committee, and I know the Climate Action Committee does not require that you be within the city limits. For the Design Review Board, to be eligible, you do need to either live in the city or own a business in the city. So we do want to make sure our business owners are incorporated in our decision making that way.
Well, and then it wasn't.
Carrie, I have two questions. I noticed on your slides for the Bodega Avenue, I think it was quite a few units going in, and there was a note about tribal discussion was started. What's involved with the tribal discussion? And the second thing is, if the city doesn't meet that mandated minimum number of lower income units over the next 8 years, what happens? Where is there teeth in that?
Well, the first question is pretty easy. The second question I could talk about for 2 hours, but I promise I won't do that. So tribal consultation, whenever we have a larger project, we do notify the local tribes that may have cultural resources under the ground, or in some cases, although I don't think we have much in Sebastopol, there are important view sheds of cultural significance. When we have a larger project, we send out notifications to all the tribes. Usually the Rancheria is the tribe that responds as the sort of the nearest and the one where we're sort of within their area of concern. For the project on Bodega Avenue, basically we meet with the tribe and understand what their concerns are. It's a confidential process between the city and the tribe to make sure that their resources are protected and aren't raided or falsified in any way. In this particular project, they did want to do some archaeological excavation, and so that happened just a couple of weeks ago. And we'll be following up with them to see, often they want to make sure there's a tribal monitor during excavation so that if there are any resources uncovered from the ground, they can be worked with appropriately. So the days of a contractor just kind of ignoring it and pushing it to the side, we don't allow that to happen anymore. We do want to make sure that those are taken care of and treated appropriately. So that's what the tribal consultation is about. Again, it's usually for larger projects. I believe we did that for the Hotel Sebastopol as well. And they did some archaeological work on that site when they did the demolition of the tractor store building, the Diamond Lumberyard building. In terms of what happens if you don't meet the state housing target numbers. So there's two components of it. One is that whatever that number is, and as I said, our current housing allocation for the 8-year cycle we're in right now is 120 units. Our next cycle is going to be 220 units, thereabouts, which seems like a lot more, but I can tell you that is most communities, and including Sonoma County, have quadruple the number of what they have this round. So there's a lot of planning work that needs to be done. So the first part is we need to make sure that there are adequate sites. So we do an inventory of how many units could be on this site or that site. And we do submit that to the state for state review. So we have to plan for the right number of sites to accommodate those next 220 units. Now, Sebastopol is actually pretty well positioned. We can use both vacant sites and sites that are kind of, what do you say, underutilized. So a vacant site would be something like the site south of the Big O Tires. That's a vacant site that is available for sale. And is zoned so that you could have housing on that property. There might also be other sites like the AmeriGas site on the north side of town where it's underutilized. It's actually had a housing unit on it approved previously. So clearly it's a viable housing site. So we can use those sites as well. So that's step one. The state does also require us to track and submit every year the number of housing units that are actually being produced by the city. And if you don't meet those targets, and I will say pretty much everyone in the state, every city and jurisdiction other than Sonoma and Napa County in the North Bay does not meet those targets because the city can't, we don't control what, people pulling building permits, and unfortunately with the fires, construction is extremely expensive in the area and contractors extremely limited. So if you don't meet those targets, there are certain things that you're subject to as a city. Some expediting of housing projects like the 84 unit project on Bodega Avenue. And so those are sort of the sticks of if you don't meet those targets.
Okay, I'll be careful. Demographics, are we getting younger, more young families? Are they having kids? What does that look like?
We're all getting older.
Yeah, is the enrollment for high school going to be going down in the next 20 years? How does it all look for housing and everything?
Yeah, Sebastopol is not getting younger. We are in a curve where we have an older average age in the city compared to some communities like Windsor in the county that have a lot more family-oriented housing. In terms of how, so yes, our school enrollment has either been flat or on a slight decline. As most of you know, that led to the consolidation of the high schools in part this year. There's a few things, so when we do the housing planning, we do look at, how can we accommodate more family housing? I kind of look at it in a couple of different ways because I know there's a lot of folks who are empty nesters in a 3-bedroom home, and they might want to move to a smaller space. So we also need to make sure that, the downsizing units are available if someone moves to a smaller unit. My mother-in-law used to be in a 3-bedroom. She's now actually an accessory dwelling unit on my property in a 1-bedroom. Now that 3-bedroom unit is available to a family. But unfortunately, the gorilla in the room is housing costs and the ability for a young family to afford a house in town. And that's where the city does have requirements when larger developments are done, like the 18-unit townhome, that a certain percentage of them be reserved and deed restricted for affordable housing. For that townhome project, for instance, those are 2-bedroom units, and there'll be 2 at a moderate income. We're actually partnering, or I believe we'll be partnering with that Sonoma County Housing Land Trust for that project, and they have contracts with both a lot of the nursing and medical facilities up here like Kaiser and Sutter, as well as the school district, to try to get younger teachers and families, nurses and the like, so what's called workforce housing into those units. And so that's part of, so some of it's creating new housing and some of it's not what you think. It's not creating more bigger houses, but it's creating a balance of every type of housing so that if people want to move within the community, but stay in town, like downsizing or starter homes, those options are there.
Carrie, I have a comment. I was endeared to learn that the revamp of the super playground was designed based on the input of our city's children. The original architects of the playground were children who are now in their 30s, 3 of mine included. And so I think it's brilliant that you kept the spirit of involving the community in that project. And so I commend you and thank you for that. And I also thank you for your presentation. It was very, very informative. And we should come visit us in person sometime. We'd love to have you. And with that, I want you to know that we're going to be donating a book inscribed with your name to the Parkside Library, as literacy is very important to Rotary. It's one of our tenets, and so we will do that in your honor, and we thank you very much for your presentation today. How about a round of applause? So,
thank you, Linda, and I'm honored by that, and it's been great to meet you all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Michael, would you help me get my screen share back, please? Oh, I just had to. All right, let's hear it for Michael Cook. Couldn't do it without you. When I was president, he was my secretary, and he always made me look good. So thank you for always being my right-hand guy there.
Linda?
Yes?
People have asked me to kind of go around like this to add the flavor.
You're a moving target. That's perfect. Well, my slide is, oh, there we go. All right. It is time for The Way Clean Joke by Jim Goodenough.
So could anybody other than Wayne Britton explain the astrophysics of how the moon circles the Earth?
Linda can.
Other than Wayne and Linda. Yeah, but I'm doing the joke. So let's just make it simpler. Why does the moon circle the Earth? To get to the other side.
Thank you, Jim. Well, how about this for a Happy Trails picture? I think it's perfect. Joe, take it away, please.
Trails to you until we meet again.
Happy
trails to you. Keep smiling until then.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.